I grew up with the pastor's wife being the trophy wife, and she did absolutely nothing but stood there and looked pretty, you know.
Which my wife can kill it at that too. But she does more than that.
Two things I said I never wanted to be was a pastor's wife and a missionary. And so when we were dating, he was actually going to be a doctor. And as soon as I don't know, maybe after the first week, I'm like, you're not going to be a doctor.
Welcome to season 6 of the Jacob Sheriff podcast. We are kicking things off this year by starting our recordings at Jubilee. And as you can see, we've got some guests with us, Jim and Mary Baker from Zion Christian Fellowship.
Yeah.
Where are you guys located?
Right outside Columbus, Ohio, in Powell,
Awesome.
Ohio.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. They're here visiting as guest speakers at Jubilee, but we didn't want to miss this opportunity to just get you guys on the podcast, get to know you a little bit, and spend a little time with you. So,
Thanks for having us.
I want to get us started today, just by a little fun exercise. Could you guys tell us, Hannah and Jacob, you collectively can answer this, and then Jim and Mary, tell us about your worst date. The worst date you've ever had.
Oh no, you're the guest.
Yeah,
we're
okay.
totally ready to hear.
Like worst date with each other or worst date ever?
Well, I was going to say with each other, but you can answer it however you like.
We'll keep it in the covenant here. So do you want me to tell it and you'll fill in some blanks?
Sure.
So we had been dating about 2 months. And so let's just say we fell for each other pretty hard. We were one step below baby talk after about 2 months. And so we're pretty close to that, shamefully. And so she came home from college, and so we're visiting. And so I was, as they say in Latin, Maximus Brocus. And so we didn't have any money. And so it's her last night before she's going to drive from Indianapolis back down to Florida to Bible college. And so we went and ate at this restaurant called Cheddar's, and all we could afford was the dessert. Okay, so we had the cheesecake. And so then we ended up staying up till 4 a.m. talking. So her roommates are sleeping in the other room. And I'm deciding this is going to be the night that I'm going to tell her that I love her. This is going to be it. It's, you don't just come out with I love you. You got to you got to seed the path a little bit.
Yeah.
So I said, Mary, I really, really like you. And she's like, well, I really like you too. I thought, okay. I said, you know what? I said, I like you about as much as you can possibly like somebody. She says, I feel the same way. I thought, all right, I'm going for it. So I, took a deep breath. I said, Mary Ann, I love you. And she went, I don't think I can stand. And she faints into my arms. And so I put her on the ground, and she's gagging on her tongue. And I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. So I jumped over her body. I went in the kitchen and got a banana and some water. And so I thought she needed some potassium. I don't know. And so I'm kind of like nursing her back to health. I kind of got her in my arm. I'm trying to get her some water. And she says, I don't feel so good. Do you think you can let yourself out? And she goes in the bathroom and starts throwing up. And she comes out and I'm not going to kiss that, And so she goes to bed. And so I drive home bewildered, And so, this is before cell phones. So she's driving back to Florida. I'm driving back to Michigan. So it's 36 hours later. I still haven't heard an answer. Whether or not she loves me, whether the thought of me loving her makes her want to throw up,
One way to get out of a response.
Yeah. And so,
I'm going to jump in.
Okay. All right.
I feel like that is his side of the story.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's mostly right.
I got to finish it with my dad, but keep going.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I had to get up at 6 a.m. the next morning to drive to Florida from Indiana with my roommates.
Probably 18 hours or something.
We had been up all night. We didn't eat food. All we ate was cheesecake. So of course you're going to feel sick and you're going to feel fainting at 4 a.m. when you get this big emotional thing come over you. And so I don't think I said, I don't think I can stand. I think I said, I think I'm going to faint because I am kind of a fainter. So I know when it's coming. I will warn you if I'm going to faint and you can catch
Let's just say if you want the room to get slain in the spirit, start with her. Yeah, so.
That kind of is true.
Oh, man.
But anyway, I did not know that I gagged on my tongue until the next day, hours, because we didn't have cell phones. So then when we finally talked, he told me that I gagged on my tongue. I was mortified, like totally mortified.
There's no nice way to
man.
tell somebody that.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead
But
with
you
your
looked
dad.
beautiful. while you were doing that, so.
I don't remember you holding me like a baby. Like
You were
nursing me.
unconscious. You were literally unconscious.
I remember waking up, staring at you, and you had bananas and crackers in your hand.
Anyway, so I go home. I wake up the next morning. I'm going to drive to college and back to Michigan. And I talked to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, you're not going to believe it. I said, last night I got up the courage. I told Mary I loved her. She faints into my arms, and she goes and throws up. My dad, he gets this far off look in his face. No kidding. And he says, that's the strangest thing. The first time I told your mother I loved her, she threw up all night. I'm like, seriously, this is our mutant superpower?
It is.
Like, not like invisibility or regeneration. Like,
Can
This is it.
Tori,
strike your
Tori,
beloved with sickness.
and so when Wesley, our middle son, proposed to Tori, did she throw up?
she threw up, and she's like, "Yes, I'm the one."
Yeah. She threw up behind a dumpster.
No.
Yes. And so, yeah,
It's a sign that was divinely.
it is. So, yeah, so
That's
Wesley's
right.
got the mantle. Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's the chosen.
He's the
Yeah.
oh man.
Well, Hannah, Jacob, let's hear yours.
Oh man.
I would say probably when I proposed to her.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I
probably
thought
our
you were
worst,
gonna go.
our worst date, which is
Oh,
great because it's only
no.
been up from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say it's probably started with the drive.
yeah,
Is that where you're
the
gonna
drive.
start?
So
Josh was actually there.
it was after Jubilee. This is 18 years ago. So it'd been 18 years ago this week. Tomorrow,
I know. He proposed on his
proposed
birthday.
on my birthday.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell him no, you know?
Oh yeah, you tried.
It worked.
So
That strategic mind was right.
Yeah.
So Friday night of Jubilee, this was the year that was the exhausting year when it was all the extra stuff at Jubilee. So I mean, it was Sunday to Friday, and there was things every day. So we were here at 6 a.m. We didn't leave till midnight for 6 days straight. Friday night, we'd been in a relationship a few years, and she'd graduated high school, which was like her dad had like one rule: I had to graduate college, and I did it.
Extra classes in the summer.
It was done. So Friday night of Jubilee, it's all done. I'm exhausted, and I know that I have to ask her dad's permission. I cannot pop this. And I already bought the ring, but I knew I couldn't do this till I asked him. Well, it just so happens that there was a trip that their family was taking to San Antonio the day after Jubilee. And so I knew that if I'm going on this trip, this would be fantastic to do this in San Antonio. So I asked him Friday night. It's like 2 a.m. Friday night of Jubilee, and we're getting up the next morning. And I'm like, can I propose to your daughter? I need to get his side of the story because how I remember it was, well, I guess so.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm doing this. So I have the ring in my cargo shorts pocket. This is 18 years ago. Just remember.
Yeah, cargo shorts were cool back then.
Yeah,
that's
and I was driving a Scion XB, black, named the Batmo box.
Yeah.
And we had
was
Josh and
labeled on the
Audrey,
back.
newlyweds, 5 months married,
Yep.
in the back seat. And so they are just madly in love and like fall asleep. And we got like 8 hours worth of drive. It's like 7 to 9 hours. I can't remember. So I'm just talking and I'm obviously nervous. And I was thinking there's got to be in the next 2 days where we'll be on the Riverwalk or something. And she, somewhere on the
Oh,
drive is just, I can't remember what we were talking about because all I remember was, yeah, and I'm just not ready to be married.
Yes, I said
While the
that.
ring's in your pocket.
The ring's in my cargo shorts
As your
pocket.
sweaty hand is clutching the box. Yes.
All the air.
And they're
left
asleep
the
in the
car.
back
I'm
and
like,
just
oh no.
Oh my God.
so it was just staring into the road for
Oh,
the next, I can't remember how
That
many
is
hours
so
was left.
sad. That's
Yeah.
the saddest thing I've ever
Oh
heard.
yeah, it gets worse.
Just,
Yeah, that's not the worst of it.
just rethinking your life choices.
So we get to San Antonio
Oh,
that
man.
night, and I pull her dad aside. I'm like, she said this. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, just ask her anyway. I'm like, well, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so
Basically, like 6 words in 2 conversations.
basically, which I mean, I had a good relationship with their dad, and I knew that there's nothing, we could not take any step forward in our relationship unless I had his explicit permission.
Just remember, I
So-
just graduated high school. It wasn't like I was
Yeah.
Right.
that old.
Right.
So that's the reason.
yeah. So
You
I
went
wasn't
you
like
went from-
25.
You went from
Yeah.
prom to Jubilee
Yeah,
to this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still a
So-
he wanted to get engaged in my senior year. So
and it's
I'd
just
already-
like, no.
I've got finals.
I know. Let me finish playing basketball.
So I think it was the next day. It might have
don't
been
remember totally.
2 days later. Where we go to the mall on the Riverwalk, and I'm like, okay, so y'all remember the Miss Congeniality scene, the
stage.
outdoor amphitheater. And so I'm like, this would be perfect. And I'm just so stinking nervous. And in the something that we would do very frequently is Hannah felt more confident and comfortable communicating in writing. So cards became kind of a bigger deal of us exchanging how we communicate. I was a communicator, and she
He could
just
talk
preferred
circles around me.
she
so.
preferred to write. So like, okay, card's a big deal. I got to get a card.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the mall, and I'm in my Old Navy flip flops and cargo shorts. And on the other side of the mall is a,
Which you
like
can't
a
see him from the
Hallmark.
waist down. He has it on right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Throw it back.
On the other side of the mall is a card shop. And so we meander. I used to follow her around while she was shopping, and she wanted to get rid of me. And so I'm like, this is a great opportunity. So we're at, I don't know, one store, and we're like, maybe like, I don't know, 50 yards away from this card shop. So she finds her way to the back in a section, like the girl section, that like I'm not going to be in. So I take off running in my Old Navy flip flops and cargo shorts, and run, pick out a card, stick it in my cargo shorts, and run back before
you
she
pay
leaves
for
that
it?
store. I paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid for it.
Steal it.
So then I was trying to arrange. So in the mall is a Chili's. I'm like, okay, let's go to lunch together. I'll find a way. And so Marcus is the only one that knows what I'm doing. So I kind of like hint to him. And I'm like, hey, let's go to lunch. He's like, no, I want to be with my family.
So let me just insert something. Like part of the rules were you couldn't be alone. So this whole
Yeah.
day he's trying to get me alone.
Yeah.
And I am just like,
You're trying to honor your father and
yes,
mother.
exactly. I'm being a
Whatever.
good Christian girl.
Make
No
you break
joke, though.
commandments.
Yeah, like he's just acting strange because he's trying to get me by myself.
He almost steals a card. That's
I
one of the
know.
commandments. I mean, it's like,
I'm like 0 for 2
Oh
on
my
the
gosh.
commandments already.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
3. Yeah.
anyway.
So find a way somehow to convince her to go to lunch.
I was a rule follower to the
Yep,
max.
super rule follower.
Yeah.
Like if she wasn't spirit filled, she'd be a legalist.
Not so much.
So I think, okay, if she goes to the bathroom, I can ride in this card,
Yes.
or I'll just go to the bathroom and find a way to ride in the card. So I'm thinking, okay, hopefully we'll sit away from the bathroom.
No, they sit.
They put us in the table right
Right
next
by
to
the
the bathroom.
Oh my word.
Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I go to the bathroom to write in this card, and there wasn't a baby changing station. And so I've got the stall. So I'm in a stall trying to write in this card like this.
Wow.
And because it's vertical, the pen runs out over and over and over. So I'm in there for like 20, 30 minutes. So she's
I
probably
know.
thinking I'm
I'm
having
like,
a
what is
horrible
going
something
on?
going on in my gut.
I'm like, something is really wrong.
It's like we haven't even had the entree yet.
And I'm in the
I'm just
bathroom
sitting there by myself.
forever. She's just sitting by herself in Chili's.
getting some ideas from the graffiti. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I feel like the romance has just been taken out of
it's-
this entire experience.
We're
Just
not
writing
done.
the card in the bathroom.
Yeah, we're not done.
In
So
the men's room.
yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I have so much better advice for my sons now.
Yes.
I will help them. because this is terrible. There's nothing romantic about this. So I finally get it written enough. Stick it back in my cargo shorts, make it back out, try to fight through lunch. And then as soon as we're done with lunch, I'm thinking we just walk down the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
And I know we're 100 yards or so from this amphitheater. And as we're done, she's like, I wonder where my family is. We need to see like what store they're at or if they've eaten lunch yet. And that's various ways of like, they're fine. They're fine. We're good. No. We're good.
The Lord tells me they're fine.
So we walk to the amphitheater and we go to the top and we're talking. And right as I'm about to turn to get on my knee, there's no one in this amphitheater except a homeless person walks up and sits maybe 10 feet from me. This is a giant amphitheater, and he has a sack lunch, and he comes and sits down and just starts.
Oh my goodness.
Could it have been an angel unaware? What if it was Jesus coming to watch?
Oh man.
Like
Then it would have been entertaining, but probably not the way.
Yeah. Would Jesus chew with his mouth open? I don't think so. Yeah.
So I get on my knee and I give her the card. And then as I know she's reading to the point where I ask, I get on my knee and, open the ring and will you marry me? And she goes,
I think I was nicer than the way he's going to make it.
did you ask my dad?
That's the response.
Oh, wait.
So it was pop. Yep, I did. And I sat back down. And while we listened to the homeless guy being entertained by us, had a conversation after some negotiation, and she finally said yes.
Came to an arrangement.
We came to an arrangement that was agreeable for both parties. And she finally said yes.
Wow.
That was hard
So
to get.
it's only been uphill from there.
Wow.
I'm just flushed. It's so warm. Yeah.
Is there a different version of this story?
No, that's all there. That's all there.
I feel pretty darn accurate about this. I've replayed this numerous times.
I'm sorry.
With much shame and regret.
You know, the homeless
sorry.
guy went back to the camp and was like, "You guys aren't going to believe what I saw today."
Well, so we go to find my family, and my sisters start bawling. They're like crying legit. Yeah,
Like not
so my
happy
heart
for you
is
crying.
just
Like we're losing you.
Who do you
Yeah.
think you are
I
crying?
know.
Breaking up the
What?
family.
You're breaking up the family.
Yes.
So her
So
two
this is
youngest
all the
sisters are
things
just
going on.
like
Yeah.
and one of her sisters has a very intense like I hate you look, and it just gets lasered in on
My
her.
one sister, Abby, she was gone.
She the one that's happy for her.
Yeah, you needed
is not
Abby.
there.
You definitely needed Abby there.
Yeah, she wasn't even there.
But we overcame, and everything's good now. That night,
After 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Decade, we were good. We made up for it.
So
I think we learned a lot. I was an older sister to 3 younger sisters, and
Yeah.
I think my youngest sister at the time was maybe 10. And to think about that now, like that was a lot for them. And then
earlier that year, me and Audrey had
Yeah.
gotten married, and so they
Thank
had,
you, Josh.
They had the
Help me out
recent
listen to his
recent loss of big brother, but
Yes.
even big sister is even a bigger deal.
Yeah. So I think it was just all those dynamics. But I always tell them, like, you stuck around through all of that.
Yeah.
You must really love me.
Yeah.
So
I might not be the
and we had
biggest
a lot to
romantic,
walk out.
but I do love you.
Even with his younger sisters, they weren't super excited.
So she gave you the
So
toughest
it
part of your
was
marriage right at
just
the
a
beginning.
lot.
That's
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So
But
you
it's
had to
made us
spend
who we are.
Did you have to spend like a week together then, like with their family, all crying about it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
I'm
So
so sorry for you.
Yeah.
And Audrey and I were happy.
Yeah, they were happy.
Like we know what this is
I
about.
know,
This is
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
it's
Josh was great.
They were good.
Yeah. It was actually Josh later on that he sat me down, like, Hannah, this is okay, and he just was a really great person. And he was rooting for Jake. He was like,
Someone had to be my camp.
oh man, this is just a much longer story. I think we've told that on the podcast.
I don't
That
know.
was just
That's a great story.
Bits of it.
Yeah.
But that's our worst date.
Yeah, that's,
So-
that's a good one.
Well,
Started off with
Kind
a
of
bang.
sad.
with
Let's
that
make it
beautiful
happier.
romantic backdrop, I want to move into our topic today, which is marriage and ministry. So I'd just like to kind of open up some conversation around what it takes to endure in marriage, especially, inside the context of ministry. So Jim, Mary, how long have you been married and in partnership and ministry together? Just maybe give us a little bit of your background and how long you guys have been at this.
It'll be 30 years in October.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's come up on 3 decades, and it's been good.
30 years married? Is that what you
30 years married, yeah.
Wow.
So Jim was in seminary our first year of marriage. Like we got married mid-semester.
First semester.
Wow. So
it's been all the whole time.
This is before before computers where you could edit everything. They had the old word processing stuff. And so I would handwrite my papers. We had 30-page papers.
Wow.
We had to have at least 30 sources. And so I would handwrite them all because I wasn't really great. And Mary would type them. And so it's I would always wait till the night before, and so it's 3 a.m.
That was a trial and error.
There you go.
And it's each line. And if you make an error, you got
These guys don't know
reformat.
what you're talking about. They're too
Right. I mean, it was,
Actually, do you know what a typewriter is? I did learn to type on a typewriter.
yeah. So so
This is a word processor. So you stick the paper in and you type it on the computer and then it prints it out.
It was ancient.
Types it, prints it out by itself.
I just remember I was we're just newly married. I get back and I got all these papers due, and she's like, don't ever do this to me again. We're just up all night typing these stupid papers.
It's I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
Well, and the ministry and marriage thing, one thing that really helped us, I don't know when we figured this part out, was kind of the revelation of kings and priests. And so, under the new covenant, you get to be a king and a priest, and so, but I think people are typically wired one way or the other more. And so I'm more kingly. Kingly's are affluence, influence, tasks, goals, accomplishing something, dominion. And the priests are more the invisible realm. What's the Holy Spirit saying? Prophetic, dreams, glory.
Right.
And so what was happening is we weren't really honoring where the other person was at. And so I'll make up a conversation. It wasn't quite like this, but it was why don't you pray more? And I'm well, if I laid on my face all day, I wouldn't get anything done. Right. And so there was kind of some of that back and forth. Right. And then at some point of leading the church together, there was an honoring of it. I would kind of half teaser, which wasn't very honoring about, a digital clock isn't a way for you to tell time. It's a portal from heaven speaking to you through numbers. She's it's 11:11. I'm yeah, that happens twice a day,
He gets it now.
I get it now. Yeah. I get it now. But I didn't honor where she was at. I kind of half teased it, I think once we realized that I get to be a priestly king, she gets to be a kingly priest. And as I honored it, what she carried got on me. I need to do it with the Lord, and not just out of my own brain or some book I read. And she's probably better at the kingly side than me right now. But I think once that honoring came together, it was really helpful to just recognize, man, she's got something that I need.
It definitely helps to work together that way.
Yeah. What was maybe the catalyst for that recognition of maybe just a recognition of each other's giftings and then an appreciation for each other?
I think there was some of that. I think
the catalyst was frustration, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
just kind of, it's sort of hit a point.
It was
we got to figure this out.
I just had a dream, and God said, "No."
I think one of the strengths just for our marriage specifically is communication, and so the two things that I feel would make ministry great, while you're being married, is laughter and communication. Mm-hmm. If you can laugh at yourself. And just stay low and yield to each other and communicate, then I think you're going to have a really great ministry and marriage at the same time. He's taught me so much on just being able to communicate, because our styles of communication are so different. Mm-hmm. I am very straightforward, I'm just going to tell you, I'm skipping to the end and I'm telling you the end of the story. Right. Where some people, this isn't so much you, but kind of you, is because he's a teacher, he goes around 3 trees in a bush to take people on a journey to get there.
I'm also a grace guy, and so
he's a grace guy.
As I'm laying there bleeding from your direct statement, I'm
but I'm why are you upset? I love you. That's why
She's I'm telling you the truth. I'm I don't want to hear the truth. I want to hear how awesome I am, right? With a little bit of truth, and then how sexy I am.
So then I had to say, okay, how would I say that? I just heard you. So tell me how you would like me to say that next time, because I really didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I think communication is so huge, like in a marriage and ministry, but
Yeah. Well,
and
that's awesome.
laughter. We laugh a lot.
What do you guys think of that? Is that
I want to hear more on that stuff because that's fantastic.
It is.
That's
It
good.
is.
How did y'all work through that in the season of having your kids? Because you have 3 kids. That's not a small endeavor, while leading and working together in communication becomes, you have compressed time. So without sacrificing the value of communication, you have to compress the amount of communication. How did you maximize the value of your communication when your time was compressed?
Well, I think one of the things we did, I felt like we had a date night every night. Like we put the kids to bed. You know, we would say that, I don't care if you go to sleep. Don't come out of your room. Your
8
mom and I
p.m.
need time.
Yeah.
8 p.m. Like I could hear them playing there. I could care less if they're playing in there when they're little. Just don't bug me and mom. Like we need some time together. And so like every night kind of was a date night, whether we were binge watching Smallville or we were just, staying up and talking. And I think just seeing that she genuinely wanted to do ministry with me and not just like, maybe not every spouse wants to do it like that, but she did. And just realizing that it means a lot to her when I would share my whole day. Like when I'm done with my day, I'm done with my day. I don't want to talk about it. Like I just lived it. It was terrible.
Pushing replay is not my joy.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, but then just realizing, okay, it means a lot,
Yeah.
And then what did they say? And then what did you do? What were they thinking? I'm like, I don't know. I think they hate me. That's what I think they were thinking. And,
Do you need play-by-play? Because I would love to just summarize it.
right. And so, asking those impossible questions, And so, but then I just learned to enjoy it. I'm like, man, here's this precious woman, and she's looking. And so then, I don't know. You just realize that what an opportunity here for her to, for us to, intimacy into me, you see. And so, I don't know. I think the date nights every night,
I think we had really good boundaries, boundaries for the church world and boundaries for people. And so they were probably, when the kids were really small, our boundaries were probably
a little too high.
Really, really high. And so when the kids got older, we started realizing really just about maybe 8-10 years ago. So not that long ago, I realized, you know what, we probably need to let some people in because we're so guarded with our family. Like, it's not that we didn't let people come in. We just didn't have people over. We didn't,
Not like a ton. We needed those nights to recoup, And so, I wasn't traveling and speaking because no one wanted me to. And so it was, there's nothing to say no to. It's not like I was being magnanimous. It was just, nobody wanted me.
And I didn't feel like I had to go to everything either when the kids were small.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, I don't know. The way I grew up in a mega church, and we were on staff at mega church. This actually is probably considered a mega church now with all these campuses and everything, but our mega church wasn't run like your mega church. And so it was just very, very different. And I grew up with the pastor's wife being the trophy wife, and she did absolutely nothing but stood there and looked pretty, Which
my wife can kill it at that too. But she does more than that.
Two things I said I never wanted to be was a pastor's wife and a missionary. And so when we were dating, he was actually going to be a doctor. And as soon as I don't know, maybe after the first week, I'm like, you're not going to be a doctor.
Yeah, because she's like, once I saw you cut meat, she's like,
Oh my gosh, she's left-handed. Have you
she's
ever
like-
seen a left-handed person cut?
it's not like something
It's
to be
scary.
entertained by.
It's so scary.
It's not like, hey, everyone gather around. Dad's about to cut meat. It's so
Man.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I wish we had some meat here. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
it's-
That'd be great
visualize it.
content for the
Or an
for the
apple. An
podcast.
apple's very, very scary.
Okay.
Cutting an apple. I could see that. I'll give her that one. Well, I think one of the things we kind of picked up early was work hard, play hard.
Yes.
And so it's not about being lazy. It's not about shrinking back. I mean, this is our one and only life. So we want to accomplish things. And so, if we had we did a lot of conferences at our church, and we don't do as many now, but we were doing a lot. And if we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday out, we would take tell the whole staff, take Monday off, be with your family, get some reparative time before or after. And so the kids knew, hey, we're going to I'll go see a movie and pizza on Monday. And, just give them some things to look forward to.
And we didn't make them go. When they were little, they obviously had to go. But when one of them was old enough to stay home, we gave them the choice because we saw so many pastors' kids turn from the Lord because they were forced to go to church all the time. And so that was one thing. We wanted the boys to love Jesus because it was because they loved Jesus. It was their choice, not because we made them.
That's good.
And when we would have really great guest speakers in, I mean, we just had just amazing people in. And so I felt like the kids paid a price for us being gone. And so we would always make sure the kids got to eat with the guest speaker. And if they were prophetic, we'd have them prophesy over the kids. And it's like, you pay a little bit of price, but you get to, get some back end.
They get the perks.
Yeah, they get the perks.
Being a
And
pastor's
so
kid.
it was great.
That's
I mean,
cool.
our speakers would tease. I remember James Maloney teasing the boys and just, it was just really special.
That's cool.
You're thinking about the 5, yeah. They gave Joshua 5 words of wisdom. It was no gay, no drugs. It was like all this stuff. It's like no strippers or what are you talking about? It was like
awesome.
Joshua was just a little kid. He's like, okay. He's like, yeah.
He still remembers it.
He remembers the 5 things.
Core memory.
Yeah.
It's one of the islands in his brain.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's good.
I think one of the things just real quick with the kids that was really special is we made bedtime a really big deal. And so we would read them like God's Generals. We would read, the chapter's a little long. We'd read part of it and we'd just talk about what they did that was incredible. I mean, we'd read about Jack Coe going on trial for being practicing medicine because of so many miracles. And during the trial, him and his friends get words of knowledge, start healing the sick in the audience, and they dismiss the case. And it's like, we need to hear those. We need to see what's possible. And so I wanted to paint those things in the kid's heart. At an early age, we read, I think it was called Modern Day Mystics. And those are a lot shorter chapters, the Flying Friars. I mean, people, there was a fire and they actually flew up to this, they these awesome things. And then we had funds too. We'd tell superhero stories. So Princess Mary would get rescued. And so I'd start the story and you pass it to the next kid, pass it to the next kid. And we had fun, and then we would just kind of, one of the things we'd give them identity questions. And so I pictured a drill sergeant, what soldier, what's your name? So I'd catch them at the worst time. And I'd be like, what's your name? Joshua Baker. Who are you? A child of the King. Who is in you? The Spirit of God. Who's upon you? The Spirit of God. For what purpose? To change history. What's your mission? To bring heaven to earth. And so it was cute because they started getting it on the inside and they'd be like, Dad, can you ask me the kingdom questions?
Right.
And so we lay in bed. And so we just prophesy them over at night. And I would say, it makes me a little emotional. I'd say, Joshua, man, if I was your age, you and I'd be best friends. You're such a good friend to people. I love the way that you're a leader in every room that you're in. You're a creative genius. You come up with solutions and just lay with them and just have that unhurried time. Yeah. We still, they're still in bed by 8-ish or something like that. So we start earlier, but I think just that slow down, connect with your heart. I'd say, has Daddy made any promises to you that I didn't keep? Because, if you tell a kid I'm thinking about it, they think it's a promise.
Swears to you.
It's blood oath. And so, and then, and I would ask him, has anyone hurt your heart you're having a hard time letting go of? Just probably once a week I'd ask him that just because unforgiveness is deadly. Yeah. So we just want to make sure they got rid of that. And we would, they would often have prophetic dreams and we'd interpret those in the morning. I mean, every morning Mary would say, okay, anyone have any dreams? And so we'd talk about them, interpret them together.
Except sometimes they would have dreams about what was happening at the church. And we're like, oh, that was a great dream. Let's not interpret that way.
They had
But thank you. I needed that.
They had warning dreams about people in the church that were going to do bad things and stuff. And they were right about them. They didn't know who it was, but we knew.
Wow.
And so it was,
Anyway, what about you guys?
Yeah.
I feel like we've overtalked.
Well, you're the guest on the episode.
It's good stuff.
We
We're
want to
taking
hear
notes.
from you.
Yeah. Let's see. We've been married almost 17 years. He was a youth pastor when we got married. So been married that long.
Did you guys do the catering at Chili's?
Yeah, really.
I'd take her to Chili's every once in a while just for old time's sake, babe.
Put us by the bathroom.
Yeah. I've got a note to write.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to get him one of those astronaut pens that writes upside down. Yeah.
That's good. I would say we knew we were getting into this together. I think that was part of just that dating story. That was like, are we sure we're ready for this?
We both were aware of the call on our lives. And that's something when like a couple have gotten married and then they sense that call after they've been married, we spend time talking with them and working through, because there's just so much they don't know. But I mean, I grew up in a pastor's home, so there was a lot of awareness of what that is, and I didn't want to do it until I was somewhat through college and felt like, okay, this isn't just a thing I know how to do, it's a call. And so we knew that going into marriage, and so at least, and we're both pretty serious people, so we took it seriously.
Responsible is what I like to call it.
Responsible. High value for responsibility.
Yeah, not boring, just responsible. So, where was it going to go?
Mature.
There you go.
Sure, that's the way we like to say it.
Yeah. But I would say one of the things we've always said when it comes to ministry or just life in general is we're on the same team, that there's a sense where we carry it together and not, because what we struggled in our dating time was we're so different, kind of like you guys just described. I'm like, I'm learning so much. So different, for me, 2 + 2 = 5. For him, 2 + 2 = 4. There's always some kind of value. I'm wrestling,
There's always something hidden that's affecting the equation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, you don't get it. 2.
It's not logical to me.
4.
This is all there is.
Yes.
All there is. There's nothing else.
Yes.
Yep.
So, being on the same team, I think that was one of the things we early adopt, because in our dating relationship,
it's a great perspective.
Yeah, in our dating relationship, I would feel all these things and he would think all these things, and we could never, get on the same page, same team. And we both were sports people, so that really stuck with us. We knew we were both positionally point guards, so positionally, like you've got a mission in front of you to make everybody work together. We played basketball. So because of that was just kind of our language. And even so, I remember our oldest was 9 months old, and we're running summer camp as inter-directors. We're out there like 10 weeks at a time. And I remember holding her and like, what is this going to look like? We're parents now. And the Lord just spoke to me and says, you'll do it as a family. This won't be y'all's thing, and she'll just be somewhere else. No, you'll bring them along in the process. Awesome. And that's had to morph as we've had more kids. I took a season of just being at home with them only. When our second was born, we became campus pastors in Sherman. And I took about 10 years where that was what I did. I was just at home, and it was one of the most beautiful seasons. And of course, staying connected in conversation and hearing about all the things going on and about the day was important to me.
I had to learn that the answer to the question, how was your day, isn't good.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to talk about my day. It was terrible. It was good, honey. Well, how was your day? What happened? Nothing you want to know about. No, I want to know everything. No, I don't want to know about it again. I had to learn how to not answer questions that way.
Yeah. So kind of feeling that mission together, and then going into a season of raising kids, it was a hard thing to just even figure out, but we did it. We're still in the middle of doing that, and communication was vital because, I tended to be more, especially after having kids and when you're taking care of them all day, though I'm internally thinking through things, that's the season I'd say I've become more of an external processor with him, because I didn't have the time to think about it for days and then bring my refined thoughts. It was more like nightly we were talking through things. So I don't know that I would say they were the same as like a date night nightly, but every night it was calibrating conversations to make sure
that's powerful though.
Yeah, that we weren't going two different directions. Yeah. And we just had to be intentional about it. He'll joke and about he's going to sleep, and I'll be like, wait a minute, we got to talk about that thing. But it was,
it was we're obviously not talking about. You're going to sleep right now. Get up.
But to me, it was a discipline of staying connected. We had to fight for that connection in the midst of the responsibilities, and I knew if we could stay connected, then our hearts wouldn't turn away from each other, or our hearts would not grow tired and weary from what we're actually trying to do together. But we would be the quickest to, and not like be against each other, but we knew what each other could endure, and we would potentially over time be on two different pages. So
yeah, and I I had to hit a major threshold. I think was it around when Emma was born, so like eight years ago or so.
Yeah.
There's just a major threshold of just a recognition of how poor of a listener I was. That like I knew how to exchange information, I knew how to ascertain information quickly, I know how to give information, but just didn't really value the level of connectivity that she was desiring or wanting. And so I have a terrible temptation towards just being so focused on just a couple things. And especially in the season of her being at home, it was like, no, I've got this mission I've got to be on, and I don't want you to feel like you're carrying it. So I'm just going to, buckle down and take care of it and not only tell you a little bit, because I don't want you to be thinking about it. And I didn't value how the connectivity makes a difference for the both of us being on mission. And I just hit a major wall and had to spend a lot of years learning just how to listen and how listening builds the connectivity that's critical, and learn how our communication styles can work together rather than me just like outpace her in talking, or just letting. That's why I developed the phrase, there's a difference between listening and tolerating the other person talking, that I had learned how to. I can sit here quietly and let you externally process, but that's not listening. That's just, I can tolerate you talking. I like hearing your voice. That's great. But not listening. Yeah. And I had to really put the discipline in to learn how to listen to build that connectivity so that we're doing this as one instead of I've got my mission, you've got your mission. And otherwise we would have drifted. Yeah.
That reminds me of something that happened to us, Jim in particular. We had I'm going to preface this with wives. Sometimes we need to know all the information because we might have a strategy from heaven that you're missing. There you go. And so we need each other. We really do. And so sometimes men, or it could be the wife, just wants to do it alone because they're trying to save their spouse or whatever. But we had like 3 speakers in a row come in, and they all gave him the same prophetic word.
And it's the only prophetic word she remembers over my life.
The word was, listen to your wife. You need to listen to your wife. All of them,
the only
guys.
prophetic word she remembers.
I mean, I wasn't like, upset.
I'm still testing those words.
Oh my God.
Anyway, it's true though,
it's true.
because we're there to help each other, and one of us might have an idea or a strategy from heaven that the other one isn't. That's part of the body, right?
Yeah. I think the tough thing is when someone's doing something hurtful to me, I feel like I can get rid of it easier than if I share it with her. And then it's like, if someone does something against her, that's probably the only time I'm less gracious.
Yeah.
I mean, I got high tolerance for everything. People can rip on me. I don't care. But like you rip on my wife.
You'll see a different side of Jim.
It's only come out a couple times in the church there's a lion in there. And it's like, you're not going to do this. You need to, you need to shut your mouth before things aren't be able to be forgiven or forgotten. Like just,
But I also feel like wives, we kind of get the brunt of what is happening from other people. And so if you don't tell us everything, then we're kind of like, wait, what just happened? And so we're kind of those gap fillers a little bit. Yeah. And
so I learned she can take it. We just,
I can take it. I can forgive quickly now. Yeah. One and done.
Well, I've definitely experienced that in my relationship with Audrey. She's very much more in that kind of feeler, prophetic kind of bent, and it does not make sense to my logical brain. But I have found it to be extremely valuable over time. Just like, man,
it's so huge.
So much at the times where I'm like, I'm just carrying more than I need to carry. And then she'll come in and say something, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to tell her what's really going on. And I always feel better. I hate the process of having to just humble myself and say, Yeah, I got this going on.
The
and this
flesh
happening.
feels so good. Just to be honest.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Jacob Sheriff Podcast. If you want to catch the rest of the conversation where we talk about navigating the season of transitioning your kids from young into teenagers and into adulthood, you need to go over to the Jacob Sheriff channel on YouTube. You can find a link to that in the description, and you'll get to hear the rest of the episode. Thanks for watching.